What is good, YouTube? We are back. Your girl Bri is here. If it's your first time here, welcome. If it's not, you're a real one. Today we are getting into translucent powder. There's so many brands that drop translucent powders, but I feel like the OG, the original, the one and only Laura Mercier, she just knows what she's doing when it comes to translucent powders. So we are going to be talking about her new translucent powder in honey. I think this is going to be the equivalent to like a banana powder shade, a little bit more like honey golden goodness. I'm gonna call this honey golden goodness. So we're gonna play with this today. We're gonna actually play with all her translucent powders. She has so many, and I think she has perfected the way that the powder is milled, the colors, the way that they work on every single skin tone, shade. I mean, even if you're just using the original translucent, I mean, I can use this. The lightest woman, man can use this. She has now created just so many different shades to just complement so many different skin types. So we're going to use these powders. I'm going to show you how I use the original, how I use the medium deep, and how I use honey. Okay, we're doing it all. I'll even pop in the glow powder. She's got so many setting powders, y'all. So if you guys are interested in seeing what the new Laura Mercier translucent honey looks like on my shade, then just keep watching. So I'm going in. This is the Laura Mercier original primer. Just gonna pop this on. These are my favorite two Laura Mercier foundations, so we're gonna use this today. This is the Silk Creme Oil Free in Nutmeg, and then I mix a little bit of the Flawless Fusion Ultra Longwear. This is in Truffle. I just kind of mix those two. I'm gonna show you a little technique of what you can do with your translucent powder before you even put foundation on. So right this side, I've already put the foundation on. But I do this not only on myself, but on my clients. I'm going to go in with medium deep. Now you can do this with the original translucent, and you could do this with honey, okay? I'm going to go in, this is medium deep. I'm just gonna take my beauty blender and tap it. So many people do this. Jackie Aina does this, professional makeup artists do this. I mean, this is just a trick that just not only helps your makeup to set, but just smooths and fills the pores. If you have a blemish, like I have a little bit of blemish on this side, take a little bit of translucent powder first, and it almost gives it a little bit more of a smoother texture. So that way when you put your foundation over top, it's as smooth as it can be. And when you do this technique, you don't need a lot, because if you're using the original to do this and you put too much, you might get this white cast coming through your foundation, and you don't want that. We just want a nice, thin, even layer where you know the makeup is going to move. And even as I'm just applying this, you can see it still goes on just as smooth. It doesn't make the foundation look cakey, doesn't make it look heavy. So that is trick number one with your translucent powder. Perfect. Now I'm gonna go in with my normal concealer that I usually use a mix of 2 shades of NARS. Sometimes I can get away with 1, but right now I've been using 2. So I use Almond and Caramel. We're gonna get into our setting under the eyes. Now, so many people bake under the eyes right now. I mean, if you watch YouTube, if you watch Instagram, and you're getting your, you know, tips and tricks from those creators, a lot of people go in with that heavy baking, you know? They put a lot of powder on a sponge and they bake away, they go at it. So I'm gonna show you what I do, and I'm gonna actually use the new honey to do this, because I think this is gonna be the perfect shade to set and give me a really nice highlight. So, honey. My skin tone, I can also do this with translucent. I can't necessarily do this with medium deep because it's too dark. So honey, like I said, it seems like it's gonna be the perfect medium to do this. So I'm gonna show you 2 ways that you can set your under eyes. One is going to be much more of a more lightweight setting, and the other one is going to be kind of like a happy medium between baking and setting. Most makeup artists, especially if they want the face to look fresh, but they just want everything to set in place, I'm just going to take a little brush like this. You're going to dip the brush into your translucent powder, okay? Then you're going to tap off the excess. This is what like Laura Mercier does. And she even uses a puff to do this. But I'm just pressing and rolling it. So the pressing motion is pushing that product into my under eye area. And it sets it beautifully. You can set the eye if you're not gonna do any eye makeup, but it just looks seamless. Doesn't look like very dry under there. It doesn't look cakey. It just is perfect. And this honey shade is, it's everything right now. This is like a banana powder, and I knew that this was gonna be a great color. So now, if I want to do a little bit more baking, you know, I'm a person who, my under eye creases a lot or it moves a lot, and this whole thing ain't gonna work for me. Laura, you can take her puff if you want. You can take a beauty blender. I'm gonna take a beauty blender just because it's the perfect point. So I'm going to take this honey, tap a little bit into the cap. Now I'm gonna take my beauty blender and dab it in, okay? Picking up all that product, okay, on. Then I'm going to press. And now I picked up way more product. I'm still doing this pushing motion and rolling, but it covered a much larger surface area. So whereas this, I kind of just focused it here, this is almost brightening, almost like the V under my whole eye. And I'm still not necessarily baking, because baking is that you put a bunch of product, you let it sit, and then you dust it off. And to me, I just think that's just too much product. You waste product, like you put it there, you set it. Now, if you're doing a dance recital or you need something that like isn't going to move, by all means bake. I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm saying though, for an everyday look or a natural wear, these two techniques will still give you the setting power and staying powder without looking cakey and dry under the eyes. That just covered a much larger surface. This, we kind of just kept it focused right under the eye. Still look super bright. Neither side looks dry. And it just brightened my skin up. Just the under eye, just like that. Now, because we did a bright under eye, we want to balance the rest of the face. You could take a bronzer, but I want to keep this in the vein of the translucent powders. So I'm gonna go back in with medium deep, take a little bit into the cap, and then a large powder brush. I'm just gonna roll it. Same thing, I'm dusting off that excess. And then I'm almost gonna use this a little bit to kind of set the rest of my face. And because this is technically a deeper shade, it acts as like a matte bronzer to just warm up the skin and balance out that highlight. If you're darker than me, you would probably just use this to set your under eyes. If you're my shade, you can use this to set the whole face. And if you're lighter than me, you can use this as a matte bronzer. I don't see why not, because it's a 2-in-1. Actually going to use her Glow powder, and I'm gonna use it in medium deep too, because this is a really pretty bronze shade. So again, a little small brush, and it just gives a really pretty highlight. But because it's a setting powder, it's gonna have a really nice wear. I mean, I've basically almost done a whole face of setting powder just with the foundation and concealer. Now, if you wanted to bump up this highlight a little bit more, I'm telling you, I have all these, I have all her powders. You could take her Glow, but this is the lighter shade. So take a little bit of the lighter shade, pop it right over top, and see how you get a little bit more of a gleaming glow. So we laid down that regular translucent and we layered it with the Glow. Even though I basically have powders all over my skin, it looks still very natural. Matte yet highlighted. We didn't bake. We just used it to set the skin, and it still gave a really, really beautiful finish without it looking dry. I mean, who wants to use powders and it just looks super dry? Not me. I'm gonna throw on a little bit more makeup, and then I'm gonna show you what I do as a final setting for the entire face. Okay, everything is done. Just did a little blush, little mascara, little lip color. The final step, because if you don't set for the final step, what was the point of doing everything that we just did? For this, I'm going to use the original. Yes.
Is it too light for you? I don't use the original or Mercier. It just looks too white. How do I use it? I'm dark skin. I could never.
I'm gonna show you how to use it right now, okay? So you're gonna take your original translucent into the cap. Just tiny, okay? Into the cap. Puff. Product in puff. Zhuzh the puff. This is like a zhuzhing motion. You're putting the product into the puff. You're tapping off the excess, okay? Because we don't want this on the face. Tap off the excess, roll, press. Roll and press. Beautiful. Talk about set. You are set, ready to go, okay? That is how you can use the original translucent. This is the lightest shade, and I just used it all over my face. I do not have a white cast. I'm not gonna get flashback because we pressed it into the skin. I did not use a big brush. A big brush with setting powders just moves that product. And the whole point to set is to really feel it and press it into the pores, okay? So this is essential. If you don't have one of these, you can just, I mean, I don't even know if I would suggest a sponge. This is really, really great. Her puff for setting powder, again, looks smooth, matte, but glowing, highlighted, yet secure, okay? We're trying to get that secure makeup wear. So that is all I have to say. I mean, she's got so many powders now, but all of them are just made perfect. And the honey shade is a perfect addition to the family of TSLP, translucent. No, TLSP, yeah, translucent loose setting powder. Thank you guys for watching. I hope this gave you a little bit more clarity of how you can just set your makeup rather than feeling like you have to bake your makeup. I think the skin just looking really luminous yet smooth, poreless, not dry, you know? It's just a really pretty way for all skin types to be able to set their makeup without it looking dry and cakey and heavy, and sometimes baking can do that. So just set and perfect. This is what we're talking about today. So if this helped you guys out just to understand translucent powders, how to set, how you can use them daily and the different ways you can use them, give this a thumbs up. Just give it a thumbs up. If you thumbs it down, you better tell me, okay? You gotta tell me why. Comment, like, subscribe, ring the bell so you don't miss one of these videos. We'll see you on my next one. Thank you guys for sticking with me. Peace out, Cub Scouts.